Growth Pod is brought to you by Genero, a leading growth agency in the Nordics. We interview marketing experts, business leaders, and entrepreneurs to uncover the stories and strategies behind profitable growth.
We are recording. So, Pernilla, thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you on and to be able to chat about your journey with NOX and AI, sustainability, growth, and leadership. So, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
So, before we get kind of started with the background, we're recording this in beginning of February 2025. What are your feelings when you're thinking about the year that we just left behind? We're looking ahead. What's your kind of general sentiment?
Well, we left a very tough year. 2024 was a tough year for the industry. I think a lot of companies had tough times, and many of our colleagues went bankrupt and are no longer in business. So, and a lot of companies have been struggling, to be honest. I'm actually very happy to have a new year ahead of us. But at the same time, you can't ignore the fact that there's a lot of geopolitical instability. We have an ongoing war in Europe. We have a war going on in terms of the US versus China. And so there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, but at the same time, I see there's a lot of opportunity for doing good things. And I think it's more important than ever that we really gather the strong forces in the positive and seeing what we can do to create the positive change in the world.
Absolutely. I share that combination of kind of the uncertainty combined with opportunity. I feel like that's very that's very much how people feel. So let's go back to let's start with NOX. So can you kind of explain what it is that you guys are doing and how this all came about? Like, what was the insight that led you to start the business?
I'd be more than happy to. And this is actually, we have to go back 14 years now. Time flies when you have a good time. And this all started as, I came from the traditional consultancy industry. And then after doing that, I was a part of starting an AI startup back in the year 2000. And during this time, also the big brokers had started to grow in Sweden. So that was the basis of starting NOX and really seeing that. I didn't necessarily like the traditional consultancy company in how they ran their business and how they always wanted to sell resources for a high price point where it was not necessarily the best people that was sold. They more sold what was on the bench, so to speak. And then the large brokers only sold, a CV. They didn't necessarily know the person. And for me, competence is so much more than, just these acronyms. It's an individual, it's a passion, it's a driving force, it's a background, it's a personality, it's so many things. So that was the basis of NOX. And NOX currently, we are a big company in terms of the fact that we have more than 3,500 freelancers in our community, but we're still a small company with only 20 employees. So we run quite a large business, but with a network of 3,500 amazing freelancers. So it's sort of a mix. We decided to take the best from two worlds. So no employees, nobody that we have to sell. at the same time as the consultants that we work with are consultants that we know. So the ones that we bring on board, we do regular interviews, we have onboarding processes, and then we have opportunity to get to know these people in so many different ways, because we have created a community for these freelancers where we do anything from, sales, marketing, competence development, social activities, forums, all of these things. And all of these activities are really just to create what is core of, not just business, but core from us human beings, which is relationships. So, and that's how we get to know each other. So we work in a known capacity, but with, a lot of competence in that we have available. So that's NOX in a nutshell. And it's a very wide spectrum, but within IT.
So the focus on relationships was kind of maybe the key insight, and that's what you've been building on. I feel like, so is there anything, how have you been able to do it at scale? Because you're talking about thousands of people. How have you been able to do that at scale? Because I feel like a lot of companies would definitely benefit from emphasizing relationships more. I'm not talking even about just consulting companies. I'm thinking about everyone who's got customers and partners and employees. And I feel like they would benefit so much by emphasizing relationships, by trying to build communities. So how have you guys been able to do that? Because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. And but first of all, I think, relationships it's not something that you can buy out of the box. Relationships is something that you build over time. And the start of a relationship for me is always to start by giving. And when you give, you get in return. And also relationships also starts with being vulnerable and being genuinely interested in the other person. So how we do this is that, in every kind of relationship, you have to be an open person that is interested in the person that you have in front of you, the person that you meet. So that is a key. And seeing that person for everything that, all the positive things about that person. And then when you create these kinds of relationship, that spreads. So if we are a partner that really take care of our consultants, other consultants also wants to join. So, and then we have to have a packaging where we can do one-to-many. So we cannot meet 3,500 people on a daily basis, one-on-one. We have to create different kind of ways to generate value for these people. And this could be, market analysis. How should they think in terms of when they create their CV? What kind of courses should they take? If you are a Scrum Master, Scrum is not that hot anymore. What path should they take? How can we connect people? How can we make data analysts talk to each other and share experiences and create insights together? But also creating parties when these people just can meet and interact with each other, because a freelancer is on their own. And how can we create that we feeling of people that are normally not colleagues? So, and I think, but the basis is really thinking about how we can create value and how we can see the individual and making sure that we are part of making them better.
Yeah, all the things you're saying, I think for some people it can sound a bit wishy-washy, but this is very at the core of sustainable business success. There's no conflict. relationships go such a long way.
They do.
So, go ahead.
And I think it's the same with customers. It is definitely the same with customers. And everything starts, I mean, people do business with people. It's simple as that. And, sometimes we tend to forget about that. And I don't understand why.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm always curious, but someone has built a business from the ground. Takes so much work to even just going from like 0 to 1, nevertheless, in your case, to over 500 million Swedish krona. What was like in the early days? Any kind of, I'm sure there was a lot of struggles and a lot of challenges, but anything that kind of stands out?
I think, when we started, it was me and a former colleague. So we were 2 people. So it was 2 people and 2 cell phones and 2 laptops. So that was it. And at the beginning, just, where do we have our meetings was a challenge. And we started off having meetings at cafes and things like that. And then, just finding ways and finding partnerships where we could sit and we could have larger meetings. That was a big challenge to begin with, but what we realized, and this is also about trying to think out of the box, and because we started to have all of these consultants that wanted to work with us and wanted to join us, and we realized we cannot just meet one-on-one. We have to do this, as you said, more at scale. How can we do this? And then we came up with the idea that, wow, we have, like, at that time, 500 extremely attractive IT consultants, and at this time, this was really attractive people to a number of companies that wanted to employ. So what we did is we called some of our customers and said, would you guys like to be able to speak about what a great employer you are to 500 of the most senior and the best IT consultants in the Stockholm area? I said, yeah, we would love to. And we met at the customers' offices, and they paid for pizza and beer, and we had a great event. And if one of the or 2 or 5 consultants got employed, it was just great, because then we provided value to both the customers and the consultants. And in any case, these, they got to meet and they started to share experiences. So this was definitely one of the challenges that we solved that way. But and the other was, building a brand from scratch. We were just 2 individuals with the network, but there was no brand connected to it, and we had no investment capital starting NOX, so it was just 2 empty hands. And how do you build a brand then without any financial muscles? So what we did was, we need to stand for something. We need to have a big why we exist. And we wanted to bring something different into the industry, a partner, a company that really cares for people and cares for the greater good. So what we did was we started an initiative each month where we shared our revenue to a project, a sustainable project. Either it was, saving the rainforest, or killing cancer, or whatever, and then we started to talk about this, and this is why we exist. We exist because we want to do good. We want to, with everything that we have, we want to do something better, and it worked. Not a lot of companies at that time were that progressive in how we talked about sustainability and wanting to be something better.
Okay, I really like that. Is there anything, when you think back to the last 14 years, is there anything that you feel like, wow, I would have done that different? or maybe I'd rephrase the question. If you were to do it again, you'd start a new business. Is there any major change that you'd kind of take, or would you have pretty much the same approach?
I think there are a number of things that I would change, but also I think it's important to understand that, you know, from all the different things, all the mistakes that you do, all the bad decisions that you take, those also lead you into the good decisions. And if you don't try things, you don't know. And we've always been, our mindset has also always been just do it and try it, but try it in a small scale, and then learn from it. So I don't think that we would have been where we are today if we haven't made those mistakes. But I think because maybe a very important lesson is in terms of employees, and that the most important thing when you employ people is that you employ people that has the same values. And I want to be challenged in very many ways, but values is one of the things that I want to be challenged by. And I think the times where we had to go to different part from an employee that we had in our company is when the values were not connected. So values and attitude is so important. I mean, most of the other things you can learn, but those are things that is very difficult to change, and I don't want to be challenged by that.
Yeah, I can imagine that's like, or it feels like that's a pattern with a lot of entrepreneurs or business leaders, is that you've learned the lesson that the people really matter, and getting the right people from the start is really key to anything else. Because otherwise if you make a wrong hiring decision, you have to make 1,000 decisions to kind of make up for it. Like you constantly have to, but if you make one right decision, it just takes care of everything else. Like they just, the right people, they just get things done.
Yeah, and that's so true.
The values, I mean, that's obviously something that's very much talked about. I think still for a lot of companies, I feel like it's very, I mean, especially big companies, they've defined their values, it's written down somewhere. But how do you actually implement it so that it becomes a part of the, everyday, how you treat customers, how you treat each other, but also the recruitment process? How have you done it, and how do you recommend companies should actually think about finding values that are practical, or just, values that are lived inside the company?
Yeah. And this comes down to culture. And I think culture always exists in a company. Either you create it or it is created. And you really want to be in charge of the culture, because that is something that, sets the rules for everything then what you do in terms of daily business, how you do things. And that comes down to, you can then, quantify that in the values. So, but I completely agree with you that, I mean, a lot of large corporations, they have these, our 3 values or 4 values, and then nobody more or less, if they remember them, they don't understand what they mean, and they have no idea how they are implemented in the daily business. And I think this is, the values are a great way of really steering how you take every decision that you make on a daily basis. So we have 4 values in NOX, and it's power, courage, responsibility, and amore. We think about this more or less in every decision that we take. So how can we do this in a courageous way? What is a responsible way of answering this question? How can we treat this person that is obviously angry or frustrated, how can we treat that person with love? So, I mean, it's really incorporated in everything that we do. But also we need to think about the core values also as, you cannot always be 100% responsible. Sometimes where do we have, because if you're 100% responsible, then, sometimes that can go overboard. Or if you are 100% courageous, what happens? So sometimes we also need to think about this as a volume button, more or less. So where is the right volume for this specific situation? But no, they are very much involved in everything that we do at NOX.
Got it. Yeah, I think, I mean, the one of the famous examples from values is Facebook's move fast and break things. And obviously, like, the good thing about that is it makes clear kind of like, breaking things is not good, but moving fast is so important that it's okay to break things. So I think when values become, when they give, like you said, when it becomes part of the business and how everyday decisions are made, and you actually empower employees and tell them like, hey, okay, let's say, example, we're a startup. It's really important for us that we are innovating and growing. So it's actually okay that there's maybe some fires that we haven't put out. Like, you are empowered to make decisions in pursuit of this goal, and you can neglect some of these other things, not because they're unimportant, but because they're less important. So yeah, exactly. It becomes actually like a way of, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I mean with the volume button, that sometimes you have to, yeah.
So the last one, amore, is that is Italian or Latin?
That's Italian. It's Italian.
Yes, you described your leadership style as kärleksfullt ledarskap, so loving leadership in English. Can you talk about, like, what does that mean, and what is that for you? What does that look like in practice? And is this something like just comes down to your personality, like you're a very loving person, or is this something that someone could kind of start using even though they don't feel like they're a particularly loving leader?
Well, first of all, I think that when you talk about this, a lot of people just feel that this is mumbo jumbo and it's fluffy and it's not anything, has nothing to do with business. And sometimes it can be misinterpreted as, I'm a loving person and, and it really is, for me, it's extremely tied to business. So, and what, describing lovingful leadership, at the core is that you genuinely are interested in making other people better. And so what is that? It is all about, seeing each and every individual for who they are, seeing the positive thing in every individual, recognizing, noticing people for what they are and who they are and so forth. And I really truly believe that, I mean, there are a million things that I'm crap at. And I'm crap at it because I don't enjoy doing it. And if I don't enjoy doing it, I don't practice. And if I don't practice, I don't become good at it. But we've all been in situations where we get the feedback from our manager saying, well, you're great at these 4 things, and there's room for improvement. And I just say, fuck room for improvement. Why should I focus on the things that I'm not good at? If I can make my employees becoming fantastic at the things they are good at and just push them to do more of that, and they will flourish. The organization and the company will flourish. So just empowering and really putting emphasis on the positive things, people become more productive and they feel more empowered and they will do more, and the company will grow and be much more successful. It's simple. It's so awkward that, we all know that people have basic needs like, food and drink and sex and all those things, but also being seen for who you are, being recognized for the things that I'm good at. But for some weird reason, people and managers feel like when an individual walks into the office, all of a sudden you are interested in completely other things. Like I'm interested in making my quota, or it's not the things that if you just look at what's important for people and the basic needs, and if you can fill those basic needs, you will have people that will outperform their capabilities. It's simple. So for me, loving full leadership is the key to create successful companies.
I really resonate with that. I feel like there's a lot of people think that when they go into the workplace, they have to change somehow, both like individual contributors and managers. And there's all these best practices, and there's this way you should talk, and there's, you have to essentially put on like you said, you forget a lot of the basic stuff that we know to be true, but then we assume that they don't apply in the workplace when we're all human. That's crazy.
Yeah. And there's so much science saying that the number one thing to make people perform at their best, it's psychological safety.
Yeah. I want to get I want to get to that psychological safety. I just want to make a comment because I was literally talking to someone about this like 2 hours ago about what it's like when you said when someone wants you to get better. You can feel it. Like you can sense when that person is like genuinely wants you to get better, not just because of they want you to perform so they can hit their numbers. Like they care about you. They're invested in you. You can feel it, whether it's in a personal relationship or work relationship. So I think if you take that approach, people are going to feel it and they're going to respond to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, psychological safety. That was really good. I had that as one of the next topic to talk about. So, basically, how do you do it? I think my experience is I've seen a lot of places where my opinion, they don't have that psychological safety. I think maybe a lot of those places would not even be aware that there's an issue. They don't. I mean, there's nothing that it's not like a giant elephant or something that you can point to. It's just a lack of something I think it's so important, but it's so still difficult, even maybe in companies or organizations where they try to achieve it. So how do you think about it? How do you try to create it?
Well, first of all, we need to recognize that people are different, and different is good. The more perspectives we have on something, the better we become, the better decisions we can take. And that's a sort of a basic idea that you have to just have to feel that. And that people get, it's okay to be who you are. You are loved for who you are. You are here because you are you. You don't have to put on a mask or play a role. I think that's super important. The other thing is about making mistakes. And we all make mistakes. I make so many mistakes all the time. And mistakes makes us grow, both as individuals and as a team. So, and we have to just remove that, thing of that, the thing, people often say, it's okay to make mistakes, but if you can only make the same mistake once. Like, what? Then people get afraid of making the same mistake over again. Just remove that whole thing and say that mistakes are good. We learn from mistakes. Mistakes makes us grow. Embrace them. We talk about it as experiences rather than mistakes. And the more experience that we have in our backpack, the better we will be to meet the challenges of tomorrow. And as a leader, I have to be the first one saying, I made a mistake and this is what I learned from it. The other thing about this is that we also feel that when we do some, it's not, I don't have to solve my mistakes on my own. There's a team. Everybody will, roll up their sleeves and say, let's face this one together. You are never alone. We are a team. And I have implemented a bonus structure within NOX where nobody is incentive on their own work, because we know that teamwork is what helps us, and never feeling alone in anything really helps that. And the third thing is, and back to loving full leadership, is tough love. And if we can talk about things that, didn't necessarily go our way, or if, somebody, we don't always do things that are right. Sometimes we have hard times, talking. There are conflicts between people and so forth. That's just, a rule of life when it happens. But we have to be able to talk about it, and nothing is too bad or too difficult to talk about. We just have to learn to talk about it in a good way. And if I go into such a discussion, it's a huge difference if I go into such a discussion with my mind thinking I should correct this person, you did something wrong, and I don't like you or whatever. Or if I go into that discussion with a feeling of, I want to make you better, I want to make us better, I want to understand, I have a warm and open mind to the discussion. It's a huge difference. And it's also a huge difference of how the other person interpret the discussion and how we can move forward. So those are a few of the jigsaws to how I think you can work with psychological safety.
Yeah.
But it's super important, because without it, it is more or less impossible to be successful.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to like a knowledge work, where it's all about people and them having to show up and give their all. Like you can't force that. They have to do it themselves. It has to be internal.
Yeah, definitely.
So those are really good practical things. How are you you mentioned the tough love and the conversations. I would imagine that everyone listening to this, especially if they're in a management position, if they take 1 second, they can think of at least one uncomfortable conversation that they know that they should be having with someone on their team or something like that, and they're just procrastinating it. So how are you personally? Is it just practice? You got to get the reps in. You just gotta do it, or
if you think about it. So if you have an employee that you don't think is performing the way you want them to, or you think that that person has done something bad, what is the most lovingful thing you can do? Is it ignoring it and don't saying to that person, but me going around thinking, that was shitty job? Or even worse, this situation that was created affects more people in the organization, and then the colleagues start to talking badly behind the back about this person. What is the most lovingful thing you can do? It's, of course, talking to that person and saying the truth, but you have to do it in a way where you do it with love. But because not saying it is so, I mean, it's so unloving, it's so unfair. And you definitely don't create a good atmosphere in the organization. Having people starting to backstabbing people or back-talking people, that's really putting a wet blanket on the entire organization. And that's not an organization where you can foster growth and foster innovation. So if you're interested in your business, just take on and have that tough love conversation.
For sure. And I feel like a lot of business problems or challenges or business potential can be unlocked by people just becoming better at interpersonal dynamics, relationships, communication in general. Like there's a lot of potential there.
Definitely.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about sustainability. I feel, at least from someone who's not working in the IT industry, it doesn't really kind of strike you that this is an industry that actually pollutes or has, contributes to emissions. You don't really think about it that way. Maybe now with AI, you can talk about that. But you mentioned you've had this like really illustrative example of the kind of thank you emails in the UK and the coal-powered power plant. So could you kind of explain the story there to illustrate?
Yeah. So and this was actually 4 years ago. What really triggered somebody turned on the lights for me was that somebody told me that it was more sustainable to send a physical postcard than to send a digital postcard. And I was like, come on, that can't be true. And of course, that's not true, unless you send a little movie of the family dancing around the Christmas tree, and you send that in a high resolution file as an attachment to 20 friends. Well, of course, then it's more sustainable to send the physical postcard. And this was like, when I realized this and I started to think about this, this was like, what are we really doing in the IT industry? Everything is like these ones and zeros, and they are on my computer, and then they are in a backup, and they're on the server, and it's like, and I just realized, like, wow, what is this? And since I'm an engineer, I'm a nerd, and I really started to, I just like, I need to understand this. So I started to read a number of articles on this, and my head was starting to spin around, and I was like, I need to understand this. So what I did was I gathered 10 CIOs in my network, and I was like, hey guys, have you thought about this? And, some of them had, but, at a very minimum scale. It may be, how long do I have my phone and how do we work in data centers and so forth. But none of them had thought about this at scale, because IT has been a blind spot when we talk about sustainability for a very long time. And but with the speed of technology development, now the ICT industry is the fastest growing climate really industry that we have. So we really need to start thinking about this. And when I realized this, I also made up my mind. We are a part of the problem. We also have to be a part of the solution. So that's when I, together with the CIOs, and I, grabbed onto a few colleagues, we decided to start this initiative that we call CIO CO2, so Chief Information Officer, Carbon Dioxide. So this was 4 years ago that we started the initiative. And since then, now we have more than 150 CIOs join the network. We have 300 member companies. We are running, conferences, workshops, and so forth. On a regular basis. We have, we are supporting companies in creating their sustainable analysis from an IT perspective. So it's really grown to being from a pet project to be a kind of large undertaking.
That's awesome. What do you think about, now with AI, you got the Stargate project in the US, and obviously China is investing heavily, and there's going to be a big demand, I'm guessing, for compute, and it's going to be very require a lot of energy. So how are we even going to solve this as a society? Do you think is there enough? And is there maybe an opportunity for the Nordic countries when it comes to, let's say, sustainable IT infrastructure? I'm very I know very little about this, so it's kind of maybe a dumb question, but
yeah. So there are a lot of questions at the same time. But just to back one step, I mean the really if you come down to it, there are two problems. It's energy and it's hardware. So, and currently, and this is, the figures is, we don't really know because there's still science behind this. But, in the area of 10% of the global energy consumption comes from the ICT sector, which is, if you compare that to carbon emissions and greenhouse gases, it's like 3%, which is equal to the airline industry. So, and this is this is growing logarithmical. And hardware is both in terms of producing hardware. It's a big problem where, mining for precious metals and so forth, and the production of all the electronics that we are using, but also at the end of the life cycle where the world produces 62 billion tons of e-waste every year. And that's more than what the entire Great Wall of China weighs. So it is a big problem. So for anyone who doesn't think that, it's time to open your eyes and realize this. And we're talking about AI. So when OpenAI, they started a new data center in North Carolina, at the end of 2024, just that one data center required that they prolonged the life of 10 coal plants for another 10 years. And that's just one data center. In the US, they have 5,873 data centers, and they are creating them, building them en masse, and not to mention Stargate. And the problem with this is the fact that what you're mentioning, in the US, there's very little green energy in the grid. So is this an opportunity for the Nordics? I'm sorry, I have to talk to get to a real question.
It was a long question.
Yes, of course, this is an opportunity for the Nordics because we have a very much green energy mix in the grid. And we are very good at building data centers that is truly green. So there's a lot of opportunity. But the other side of the coin, if you will, is that, using AI creates a lot of problems from a climate perspective. But on the other hand, we need AI, we need technology in order to solve the big challenges that we have, both from a climate perspective and from a society perspective. So really, we can't go back, and we don't want to go back 75 years, because before we started to really pollute the planet on a massive scale. Nobody wants to go back 75 years. So we need to, with technology, with an AI, to build these exponential climate solutions. That's our, at least from my perspective, that's our only path forward. So, but we have to be able to have two thoughts in our minds at the same time. We need to build solutions, to use IT to build sustainability by IT, but we need to think about how we build these solutions, so sustainability of IT. So that would be my preach.
That was a very good answer. I think, like you said, there's a kind of there's a tension there, and there's going to be, I think it'll be really interesting to see what the next 10 years are going to look like. A lot of challenges, a lot of opportunity. While we're on the topic of AI, you work in the IT consulting industry, and I mean you do. Based on what I've understood, I mean you do a really broad range of kind of consultants in your network. But when a few years ago, people used to say that learning to code was the way that you'd kind of future-proof, because like you said, I mean the IT industry has been growing for the last few decades, like very rapidly, and high-paying jobs, and there's been like demand has been much higher than supply for all this time, and you got so that's been kind of the mantra. And now with AI, these AI tools are becoming, or are already like super powerful. So how are you thinking about AI impacting your industry? Is it going to increase it still? Like more people are just going to be enabled to become some kind of IT consultants, or are we going to see a reduction in the number of consultants needed, and they're just going to become much more effective, the ones that are using AI to do their work? Or how do you think about this, like AI impact on labor in your industry?
I think we can, maybe it's a painful truth, but there will be a lot of labor work that is going to be completely eliminated by AI. So including software developers. So will AI take our jobs? Definitely. Will there be other jobs created? Definitely. So, and this is true for, any, revolution, if you will. So some jobs will disappear, new jobs will be created. So, and you just need to stay curious.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because at the same time, it's like very interesting and fascinating. And I think anyone who doesn't say that they're a little bit scared or not concerned about this change of pace, or the pace of change, excuse me, I think they're lying. Like it's pretty. What's your perspective? Because you mentioned in the beginning, you got involved with AI like over what is it, 15, 20 years ago with the first project?
25
years. So AI then, I mean, was there machine learning at that point, or how was it?
Yeah, it was actually, it was more rule-based languages and more of a, detecting anti-patterns rather than anything else. Yeah.
So you've seen this kind of evolution. Were you as surprised as I feel like the whole world was when ChatGPT was released, or were you paying attention and expecting this AI to be the rollout to be so quick?
I think, it's going. The adoption of technology and the evolution of technology is going at a pace that it's so difficult to grasp. Actually, and I'm trying to stay on top of AI news, and I listen to AI news more or less on a daily basis, but it's going at the speed of lightning. So I didn't think that it would go that fast. It took 2 months for ChatGPT to reach 100 million users. it's extremely fast, and yeah. So I don't think really that us humans are geared for this kind of development change or evolution change, but
No, it feels a bit dizzying for sure. And
yeah.
I think it's so interesting, like with AI, the question of where the economic value is going to accrue. Because, I think about the large language models, like just a few years ago, if any company would have gotten their hands on that would have been like this super valuable asset. And now they're open source, so basically free. So it's just,
yeah.
I think that's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. But also we need to think about what's free, because what people may not realize is that we pay with other things. We pay with our data. We pay with our integrity, and those things are potentially a much higher price than paying in money.
For sure. I think we're coming at the end here. So lots of complex topics we covered here with sustainability and energy needs and AI. Any kind of I asked that question maybe in the beginning, but now that we had a conversation, like what are you paying most attention to? Is it AI or any other kind of trends?
AI is definitely on the top of my list of things. But I think the important thing, and then this is something that I want to share with every leader out there, is we have to stay curious. We have to stay courageous and try things, because it's the only way. And that is something that I think is scary. I think most of the companies today have very few tech-savvy people in the management team and in the board of directors. And currently, whether we like it or not, the world is developing and is ruled by technology in many ways. And so it's super important that we are curious about this. We don't have to become developers, but we have to be curious about technology. We have to realize that technology and AI is tools that we have to use in order to make our businesses stay alive. Because if we don't, somebody else will take our position. So what I usually say is, either get on the bus or you might as well get under the bus. So I think that's, stay curious, stay courageous, but also stay healthy in terms of, mind and thinking about what's important and thinking about, the human aspect of this and how you can treat people with love.
For sure. I think that's a good way to summarize our conversation, this combination of technology, which is changing so fast, and then you got the thing that doesn't really change, which is human nature and the importance of like relationship and community. Pernilla, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. For people who want to follow maybe the projects that you're working on, whether it's NOX or CIO, CO2 or anything else, what's the best way to connect?
I think the best way is LinkedIn. You can just, find me on LinkedIn. I'm easy. There's only one Pernilla Ramslöv in the world. Or, go to the website. But that's the easy way.
Perfect. I'll put a link. We'll put a link in the shout outs to your LinkedIn. Like I said, thank you so much, and wish you and the team best of luck with everything that you've got going on this year.
Thank you so much. It was a fantastic conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you for listening. You can find all episodes of The Growth Pod on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.